In this version, we focus on improving performance, speeding up deployments, and adding new integrations. We have touched everything from design to maintenance, debugging, and deployment. And of course, as in every launch so far, we are going hands-on to present all these new features. And now, before starting, I would like to present you to the person who's going to conduct this session, Jorge Neves. Some of you guys already know him. He is our project manager for Kalipso Studio and plays a key role in driving Kalipso's innovation and usability. During this webinar, Jorge will walk you through the latest features of Kalipso 6.1. And well, without further to add now from my part, I will leave you all with George, and I hope to speak with you all again at the Q&A. Enjoy the webinar. Good afternoon, George.
Hi, João. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for attending. Let me start by saying that for those who attended the launch of Kalipso 6, I want to assure you that I bought a new headset, so you're covered, okay? You won't be listening to me tapping the keyboard. So that being said, let's begin and dive into the new features of Kalipso. We're going to start with a new set of actions regarding MQTT, which stands for Message Queuing Telemetry Transport. It's a lightweight publish-subscribe messaging protocol, primarily used for the Internet of Things, IoT, as you all know. MQTT has become the messaging standard, and it's particularly useful for field apps like a Kalipso device triggering remote operations or receiving sensor readings by subscribing to live updates. This opens up a whole new business area for Kalipso users. To demonstrate, I'm going to start by creating a new project. Give it a name. I'm going to save this on my desktop if I can. Folder, create. Now, I'm going to need a form. This is not new for you guys, but while we dive here into the MQTT, I'm going to take the opportunity to introduce yet another feature. For those who like to work with designers, or you simply have a user experience department, this feature is going to help you save time. We've asked our teammates from the design department to build the form layout for this feature. And as usual, they have used Figma for that. Well, with version 6.1, we no longer need to mimic their design. We can simply fetch it and convert it directly into Kalipso controls. I'm going to show you the design itself. It's open here. Okay, so this is what I'm going to import onto our designer. Head to new form. And we're going to choose Figma as the source provider. So the team has already shared their link with me. Let me fetch it from my notes. Make it easier. So copy the link. And also, let me copy the access token. Load. Well, here's the detail. Figma, in their free tier, doesn't give us much chance to fetch content, okay? At least not a lot of times in a row. And since we've been trying this out, I already made a cache of it, okay? So I can use the cache or simply fetch live from what's there, okay? So I can say no and fetch from Figma. This was just to explain to you guys why the prompt. Okay, each Figma has a lot of frames, so we're going to list all the available frames and pick the one that we want. In my sample, there's only one frame, so already selected, hit import, and each Figma element is going to become is matching Kalipso control. Okay, so labels, inputs, buttons, etc. It's important to say that Figma has no controls per se, like we know in Kalipso. So what Kalipso has made is an heuristic analysis of the frame content and try to understand which type of control you need. However, you can use explicit names or prefixes in your Figma objects to hint Kalipso on how you should convert them. So if you call something like button, etc., it doesn't matter the content, Kalipso will convert it to a button. If your designer doesn't have that type of organization, no problem. 99% of the cases is going to be well converted, just like you saw it here, because nothing here was properly named on my sample. So pretty easy to use the Figma import, and we are ready to launch the MQTT. Controls are here. Of course, they don't do anything. This was purely design. And that's where the new actions come in. I'm going to demo two distinct scenarios: an active request to do something, and also a subscription for a live reading. Concretely, I'm going to start the fan that I have here. I'm going to show you when it's time to make it run. Okay, it's connected to a socket that I can toggle. That's actually what we are going to do: toggle the socket to start the fan or to shut down the fan, but also retrieve temperature from a sensor. So that's scenario number 2, the subscription for live reading. Heading to the connect button, this is where we start. I need the MQTT connect. Now, for both operations that we're going to do, we need to be connected. I need to store the MQTT ID, but I'm going to use it on other actions. So the best option here is to store it in a local variable, not a temporary variable. And later on, for the subscription, I'm going to also need the payload from the notification. So I'm going to do the same, point to a local, so I can use it later in other places. Now, I need to set up the server. So this is my MQTT server. Now for security, you're going to input the password and the user, or Kalipso, or the user and the password. Kalipso. Save. That's it. Pretty simple. Now, for the first action, publish. And by action, I mean action to perform, not Kalipso action. Fan or on off, so we're going to toggle it. Actions. Again, MQTT, publish. I need to use the ID that we stored in the local variable, okay? And I need to input the topic. Let me pull it from my notes. Let's make it easier so I don't make any typo mistake. And also the data to publish, which was toggle, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, toggle. Copy and paste. That's it. That's all I need to start to turn on or off the socket. Heading to the subscribe feature. So we're going to get the temperature. And for this, I'm going to need the MQTT subscribe. Again, the same ID. And we also need the topic. Let me fetch the topic for this one. And we're ready to go. So, almost ready to sample everything from MQTT, but we don't know exactly when the message will arrive. We made a request, so this is not a synchronous request, but a subscription. So we need to add an optional event for when the message, the answer is received. So I'm going to add up to the form. And I'm going to add an optional event, which is MQTT message received. And on it, I'm going to parse the value that was read using a JSON. JSON get value, here it is. So the JSON is stored in the notification payload that we set up on the connect. And the item name that we need to fetch is temp. So it's going to be stored in temporary variable 0, which is fine by me. So just a message box to output current temperature is temporary variable 0 degrees. Sorry, typo, degrees. Save and save. Ready. Let's test this locally for now. Here comes our very own simulator. I'm going to connect. No error, so it's connected. Now I'm going to take the camera off so I can show you the fan. Okay. Here it is. And I'm going to hit the fan on off. See? So the fan starts.
George, can I ask you to move the camera a bit down?
Yeah, like this.
Perfect. Yeah, we can see.
So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make it off. And it fully stops, as you can see. And if I hit the same button again, because it's a toggle, it starts. Notice it took us less than 2 minutes to do this. And now, while I put my camera back on, please let me know if it's okay, since I have no feedback from it.
I got Great. It. Yeah,
Thank you.
Looks good. Yeah, let's go.
Now, get the temperature. So the get temperature is going to publish the message, and when it's received, the event is triggered, and we get the message box. Let's try it out. Get temperature. There you go, 23.2 degrees. And for you to see that I'm not lying, and I'm not going to touch the camera again. Give me a second. .2 degrees. Okay. So this is the local device that is getting me the temperature from. So as you can see, MQTT follows basically the Kalipso standards. It's fast and it's easy to deploy. Now, moving on to actually an old feature from Kalipso 5, but it was missing in version 6, and a lot of you complain about it. So we took some time to improve it. So not just implement it on Kalipso 6.1, but actually improve it, which is creating automatic forms from a database table. First, I need a database. This is our standard connection setup, so I'm not going to comment on it. You all know it. It's going to be pretty fast. This I know by memory. That's it. Now let's pull two tables to To demonstrate, well, it seems like I missed the password. Let's see if it's okay now. Yeah. So like I was saying, let's pull two tables from this database to exemplify the feature. That's it. We're going to need these families and this product. And when you drag a database table onto the workspace, and notice I'm over the workspace, not necessarily a form, although that still works also. You can create a new form. And unlike version 5, you can now specify the type of control that you can create, not just input fields. And in this example, for the family, I want a combo box because I want the user to pick it from a list, okay? And since the combo box needs data, I'll point to the families and to the display the name and to return the code. I can also turn the flag column onto a checkbox. Save. The form is generated. We have the inputs, we have the combo, we have the checkbox, and it's all wired to the underlying tables using all the actions that you already know. Before we can test, we need the data. Otherwise, we won't see, of course, any data. Create a communication profile. This is all standard procedure, as you know. I'm just going to input my IP address here because it's going to be useful later on. Now, in the opening of the form, I'm going to call the synchronize. Just pull it up, save. Now, just before I test this, I want to show you yet another style feature, which is a feature that can help you to quickly stylish your application, but without tying things up to styles itself. Because our design team is really busy right now, so I'm just going to copy the layout that they've created on Figma. So I'm going to go here, select this button, head it, and double-click Format Painter. Now, on each button, just click to format it exactly as the source. That's it. Now, for testing, set this as the first form. I can even go up here to make a closed form that I believe it doesn't exist. Oh, it is. Okay, perfect. So MIS Communicator is already running, so I'm going to run this locally, just like the previous test. And I believe this can be due to this. Could it be? Let me check. Yes, it is. So for some weird reason, we got a duplicate pair of database profiles, but we'll take that cover in a minute. Okay. Luckily enough, we can reproduce all this quite fast. So let's jump in again. Let's see how recovered state is. You're okay here. And it was right to the point where the tables weren't in because, okay, now I see the problem. You got it. there's always a workaround to everything.
Even with an internal one. Yeah, let's go.
Call this ID family name, but even my server isn't getting through. I don't know why. Well, sure. And now the families. Also an ID, which is also a key, and the name. And that's it. Of course, I won't be synchronizing any data in this case, since it's a local database, but it's enough to just get the feature back on. So it's basically the same principle as we saw. We display the name of the family, return the ID, and we have exactly the same thing. I'm going to go to exactly the same operation with format painter. That's it. So set it as first form. Okay. Now in the opening, just to mimic the synchronization, I can input some data. I'm going to make an insert on products. So the first product could be Coca-Cola. Sorry about the typo. Oh, so this is family, sorry. Let's call it drinks. And now Coca-Cola. Move it up. Copy paste, so we just have two products instead of one. So I guess some people just prefer Pepsi. And now just for a family, let's do the same thing. So this could be ID1, and this could be, well, I made a mistake back there. I'm going to need to change it. So one family of drinks, one family of food. And now the mistake I made back here is this is the code, not the name of the family. And that's it. So finally, after all this excitement on my SQL server, sorry about that. What's the problem with him? There's a constraint. I put the same ID. Did I not change the ID? Maybe not. 1, 2. 1, 2. I think it's okay. Okay, let me just check the constraints here. So ID is key. That's okay. And ID is key. That's okay. So let me just make a delete all. Let me just do here a delete to make sure all data is cleared from products, and also one here to families. Just to make sure there's nothing there. Run it again. Nope. Insert families. Insert ID name. Oh, it's empty. It's a select there. Seems like there was some data still there from the previous attempt. So form is running with all the features that we wanted, which is the combo box, listing the families, selecting the correct family, and also our button style in our simulator. So after all these bumps, we've covered up another feature, well, actually two features on this new Kalipso 6.1 version, which was the creation of the forms from a database table. All the other features are still there. Create database tables. Creating table controls from the database table, adding columns to a database table, and now the creation of the controls, and also copying the style of other objects in between or in the same form. So the other major area that has evolved here on Kalipso 6.1 is iOS deployment. It was also one of the least developed due to major restrictions imposed by Apple. So the good news is that you can now test your project on an iOS device via USB, pretty much like you would do on an Android. The minimum version required is iOS 17, okay? The other necessary setting is that you need to install iTunes. Notice it has to be the desktop version, not the one from Microsoft. Otherwise, the required drivers won't be there. Okay, so the drivers to connect to the iOS device is going to be installed automatically by iTunes. Be assured, documentation is updated. Okay, so all the steps necessary for all that I'm going to show you from this moment on, and that I don't necessarily show here, so are fully documented in the documentation. Okay, so because there's a lot of ways of doing this. There's automatic ways, there are manual ways. I'm going to go for everything that's automatic. Okay, so not everything related to this is covered up here in the demonstration, but once again, rest assured, is fully documented. First thing, test on iOS via USB. This is going to be a straightforward process. I'm going to plug in my iOS device, and just like a Android device, it shows up here automatically. Okay. And when we test, I'm going to click it there. One thing is going to happen. If K-Client isn't installed yet on the device, you're going to have to provide a bunch of properties. Otherwise, that part is going to be skipped. Okay, so I'm going to press test. It is. There's a lot of things missing for me. I'm going to say my domain. I'm going to put here sysdev, obviously. But the most important part has to do here with Apple API. Let me fetch from my notes. I need to check if this is all already okay. I think it is because it's pointing out to my already downloaded from Apple P8 key file. Okay, let me check the key ID. Also, I have it here. GJ, it's okay. And the issue ID is the 69. Yeah, it matches. Okay, so I'm going to copy the token, just make sure it's not there, because we use GitHub for that. Okay, so it's already also filled in because this was already in the settings from the previous test. So I've inputted my token, and I need to point to a repository on GitHub. So once you input your token, if it's valid, it shows you all the available repositories that you have there. You should create one for testing, only one for testing. okay? But keep that one just to test on USB, okay? So it doesn't have to be per project, but it has to be specific for testing. You can pick one that you've created manually, okay, or you can hit here just to create the new repository. So everything is okay now. I'm going to press save. And here's the extra step. Kalipso is actually signing my IPA, signing K-client with my credentials. Okay, he's asking GitHub to do that. That aspect we're going to see in more detail in the next feature. Okay, so don't worry too much about it. And once that's completed, he's going to launch the sign K-client on my device. This takes like a minute or less to build. It really depends on the size of the IPA. But in a few short seconds more, is going to pass on to the process of just deploy, like we all know. So this is the first step. I wanted to show it to you. I could have installed it previously, of course, but I think it's important for us to see the full process before continuing. That's it. So I'm going to pull my team viewer where I have my iOS device, and you're going to wait here also a few seconds more while Kalipso deploys the project here. So we are in the stage that you already know with Android, which is creating the project, deploying the project, send to the device, and launch the application. So application is launched on the Android device, just like in any other Android device. Okay. If we would try it again, and we can do that if you want, it would not ask for that. So no signing, okay? So Kalipso is already installed on the device, so this is the standard testing procedure, okay? It just takes a little bit longer when we actually install the IPA because it needs to be signed. Sorry, I didn't pull my team viewer, but here it is, the app again, okay? Now, creating an IPA. This is another major breakthrough because it allows us to both install on an iOS device the already deployed IPA, not the K-client, so not testing, but the actual application that you built, and also to upload to the store directly from the designer. And for these two features, and also the one that we just saw, you don't need a Mac, okay? You don't need, but we do need to enable something. So I'm going to go here to create IPA, and we need to enable GitHub for IPA signing. And this brings more settings, but also more features. Okay. Again, I'm not going to cover every option here, but I'm going to show you the entire flow to get this working. First of all, I'm going to choose side loading because, as you know, this installs on the device outside the App Store flow. This is for you to make internal testing or for customers who don't need us or release every time. I also going to deploy to the store, okay? These options were already known by you, okay? And on each one of them, there's new options. For the side loading, we have install on device, which already tells me this is the connected device that I have that we just saw. Okay. So once the APA is generated, Kalipso is going to automatically install it on the device. When it checks store, we have the publish on store. This takes the build all the way up to App Store Connect. So the build appears on Start App Store Connect, ready for text flight or review. Notice it is mandatory to register the app in the App Store Connect prior to use this feature. Okay, of course, we already done that. So we move on now to filling all the necessary fields to get this to work. Since I've already used test on the device, the GitHub token is already filled in. But I need to pick a repository for this. And notice this is to build my application. This is not for testing. Okay? So I can choose this one. Of course, I already tested, so I already have a repository. If not, you can simply create one, just like in the other feature we saw previously. Now, the Apple API is going to use the global settings. Okay, so everything we filled in is already here available to use because we already signed the client for testing purposes. Okay, so no need to input the same things all over again. But we do need to sign it. So we need to generate a P12 key file. And we can actually generate one. Okay, I'm going to use the automatic mode. Here's the common name. I'm going to call this not late, but Kalipso 6.1 demo, and call it this CSR. No problem. Now I'm going to put the company, and the country. Mail is optional, so I'm going to store this in my desktop. Okay, I'm going to input a password. Generate. This is just a couple of seconds. Okay, so it seems like my teammate didn't deleted this from Apple. So now we need to wait a few seconds just to hit generate again. Sorry about that. So basically, just for you to know, there's a limit for the amount of P12 files that we can generate. It seems like we're full. So they are telling me here that they already cleaned it. So generate again. Okay, generated successfully. Now we do the exact same thing for store. Okay, why two process? Because we have two deployment types. Okay, it's basically the same thing, so I won't bother you saying exactly the same thing. So just pick desktop. Same process, same output. Perfect. That's it. Now I'm going to hit generate. Provision side loading. Ah, sure. Forgot it. Since he already has the other data, we just need to hit the generate. My bad, not telling you this. Luckily, Kalipso told me. Now, generate. Now, this is going to take a couple of minutes. And while we wait, I want to tell you why we are using GitHub. Basically, GitHub allows iOS compilation through what they call GitHub Actions. And GitHub Actions includes a free tier of 2,000 minutes per month for compile time. The actual time to compile, and notice we are already on the stage where GitHub is running the actions, takes about a minute or so. It depends on the size of the IPA, of course, but it takes about a minute or so. So give a let you have 2,000 builds per month with no extra cost. So we think that this is enough for most users. And it's worth mentioning that the test on device also used GitHub, like I said, but only if you install K-Client. So use it once, not many times. Okay. Out of curiosity, while we continue waiting, this process that is being done right now, it's basically the same process that you do before, but automatic, meaning we have generated the scripts, the IPA scripts. One moment and I'll get to the error. We have generated the IPA scripts, okay? And we've asked GitHub to run the IPA script and telling us and returning us the IPA. So what you do before was generating the scripts, copy it to the Mac, and then run the necessary comments. Okay, so now we do that automatically using GitHub. So let me check what failed on my GitHub account. So it gives us here the actual reason why it failed. I think it has to do with the version because I forgot to change it in the middle of all this. Let me see. Yeah, previous bundle version 1.02. And the actual version that I tried to generate was exactly the same. We cannot, okay? Basically, since we've tried using the app that we've registered on Apple, we cannot try to upload a lower version. Okay, it isn't allowed, or the same version. So I'm going to increase the version here, and I'm going to try it again. Okay. Yes, I want to, which means we're going to have to wait another 2 minutes here. Let's see if everything goes exactly as we expected right now. Also, let me bring the error back while it's pretty easy because you have the links to everything. So if something fails, you have a full report here. Notice I've just clicked the link of the report. It brought me into the previous screen saying, okay, side loading was okay. I failed on signing the IPA for the store. And this is pretty much a JSON, but it's actually, sorry, XML, but it's actually pretty easy to read. It says that something was already been used. We scroll a little bit to read it, and it is going to see that the version could not, it is the bundle version must be higher than the previous uploaded version. So GitHub failed to upload to the store because the store returned this error. Okay, so let's go back to our design just to see if we are successful now or if the error keeps on rising. It should be just a few more seconds.
While we are waiting, do you know if there are any prerequisites required to create, deploy, and store an iOS app? Any licenses from Apple and the GitHub charges from all of these?
Well, like I said, we haven't used the paid version because we simply didn't need it, and we've done a lot of deploys, as you can imagine, not just for testing, but also for the developing. While we've developed these features, we've deployed and deployed and deployed and deployed, and we never hit the tier. So I believe that while the tier is at 2,000 minutes per month, you'll be covered. Notice that the build already completed successfully. Is on the process of just downloading the IPA. Okay, you can see that in the report. So he has already installed it. I'm going to bring the screen right up in a few seconds for you to see. Okay. So obviously he downloaded the IPA and is going to show me the sign-in IPA, which I don't need it because it's already on the store and it's already on my mobile device. So also the message saying the store, the IPA was signed in and uploaded. Now let me bring the screen So you can see, and here's the app, okay? It was installed by Kalipso, our Kalipso 6.1 demo. And if we click it, it opens exactly just like the test we made before, but now a fully compiled IPA, compiled and signed IPA. So as you can see, iOS deployment just got a lot easier because once you have these steps up and running, you rarely change them. Okay, so this was a first time deployment just for you to see that it's actually pretty easy to do. Moving on, let's talk about Git. I'm just going to give you a few notes because Git integration is now out of the beta state and is officially production ready. Okay, I'm going to just create a repository. I've created this repository previously on my GitHub account. Let me fetch the link, the address. Okay, create. And this allows me to show you that the management of the repository is now much easier. So when you go here to the repository, you can see all the commits at glance. Okay, with the glance, there's a full list here of all the commits. And you can even check the commits of the other branches if you have them just by selecting the branch. This is not going to switch the branch. It just allows you to actually see the commits of that branch. So everything is much organized and use basically developer friendly now in version 6.1. There's also another thing that I want to show you. Let me commit first so I can make out the example. I'm going to call this my first commit because I'm not going to take time describing it. And I'm going to change something to demonstrate. For instance, let's duplicate this this form. Okay, that's it. Now, my feature is completed. I've done all the changes that I want, and I'm going to hit commit again. And by pressing this button here, I'm asking Kalipso to generate the entire commit message by comparing the previous state with the current changes. It provides two things. A small summary, okay, saying, well, you've added one form, changed X properties, you've created the Y buttons, whatever. And then also a small detailed list with all the changes, okay? Well, just press commit and you are ready to go. Of course, I could now push everything that was already up and running in the beta state. But this generating description, it's actually a new feature. Last but not least, and it's not by mistake that this is the last feature. Actually, this is my favorite feature of this new version because it really is going to save a lot of time for people who work with linked projects. Until now, all the edits had to be made in a separate designer instance. So if you have two linked projects, you need three designers, one for the main and two other for the other two linked projects. And you also had to reload the project every time you change something in the other designer. From now on, you can simply load a linked project in the current designer. How? Let's see. So first thing that I have to do, of course, is to link to a project. Let me get it here from the desktop. Well, this is my module 1 for this application that I'm developing. So now everything still looks the same as before, but I can ask Kalipso to load this. Let me see. Something is missing. Let me. So this seems to be empty. Let me check out why. Let me open directly just to see why it's empty. Oh, sorry, my bad. It's fully. I was in database, so there's no database on that. So it's actually here. Sorry. So let me make a reset. We have the linked project here, just like before. So you can still work as per today in version 6, but you can load it. There you go. This is what I was looking for, the forms. And I can open the form in the exact environment where I am. Okay. I can make changes. I can edit whatever I want. I'm going to duplicate this just to make the example. Can change anything. Well, why not? Okay. And once I do this, I can keep it using just like before. I'm going to create a button just for us to call this link of the form. Okay, so just let me create the action. So call the linked form. Well, it doesn't look much. So I'm going to use that new feature, the format painter. That's it. Let me pull this as new form again, if I believe it's not. Okay. And now let's test this. I'm going to test this on local machine this time. Notice, since the project was loaded, it's also saved. Okay. So all this is automatic. You don't need to do anything. This is normal. And I can tell you in a second why Kalipso did that. Request that admin privilege. It has nothing to do with this feature, so don't worry. So if I call the linked project, you can see it has the changes that we made in while working on the main project. Okay, that's it. That's all you have to do to put this to work. Okay, this one didn't have the close form, so I'm going to hit here and ask it to stop. I'm going to call the debug again, okay? And this has to do with, sorry, I'm going to call the test on local machine again. Actually, to show you that you can activate the debugger also for the local machine. So it's going to run the same process again, but this time it's going to call the debugger. So the connection between the designer and the local machine K client is the reason why Kalipso asked me for the admin privileges. It doesn't ask me now because after the first launch, it doesn't need it again, okay? Now, wait at what I'm about to show you. Call linked form. And notice this. Show form is the action from the main project. But these actions were actually run on the other form. Let me show you. So if I double click here on the form from the linked project, we can see that when it opens, it runs a global action set, which then runs the set value. And we see the full debug here. Why? Because we've loaded the project and added in this workspace. If it stays as a linked project, so unloaded from the workspace, everything works as before. You see here an indication of, well, something has run because we don't have enough information to show the debug here. But if you do load it, even if you don't want to edit, okay, you can still debug it here. Okay, so this is actually uh, a separated feature that it's also provided for the loading, not from the editing itself, but from the loading the project in the, the workspace. You're probably wondering, okay, we've tested on local machines, so you can show us the debugger. What about iOS that we've discussed it before? Well, also yes. Okay. I'm not going to run it, but I'm going actually show you that the option is there. Okay, just activate the debugger and you're ready to go. It's exactly the same thing. What does this mean? This means that all the three K clients nowadays have the debug feature. Okay, it doesn't regardless of linked projects, whatever. No, the full debug features are built in the three K clients. One thing that it's worth noticing on this this last feature, Git related features. They are not yet fully built on this environment for the linked projects that are loaded for edition, okay? But the basic features are, you can notice that Kalipso tells me, well, this linked project that you've loaded, it's actually on a master branch of a Git repository. So I know he is a repository. So I can right click and do individual commits for the changes that we just made. We can actually call the same feature as before to generate the difference. Okay. It displays whatever has changed and I'm just commit. Okay. You can also pull. Let me bring that menu again. Pull and push. So everyday tasks, commit, pull and push, ready here to go. Okay. All the other features like creating the project, putting it in the repository, creating the repository, not available yet. Near future, we'll get there when we talk about the roadmap. So just that hint that Git features are for the project itself, for the main project. If you need something for that also on the linked projects, right click, okay, commit, pull and push. Everything else like saving, etc., it's global. Whenever I save my project, all additions made to the linked project that are also saved. Okay. So first thing, sorry about those bumps in the SQL connection. Till this moment, I don't know what happened. I'm glad that we could move forward in another way to show you the features that we've created. I really hope that these new features help you to develop even faster than before. And I'm going to call Jerome back up because he's going to talk you about the roadmap, and then we'll head up to Q&A. I'll stay in tune for the Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, George. What a great presentation. And thank you all for your patience to continue with us. Because you stayed with us till now, we have here a small treat for you. And we are talking about our roadmap. The headline for the next release is an AI agent built into the designer. You describe what you need, and Kalipso will help you build it. Generating forms, drafting action sets, suggesting database mappings. The thing is, we are not ready to demo it yet, but it's where Kalipso 6.2, in this case, Kalipso 6.2 is heading. We are also working on a new K-client executable to replace the current APPX. And finally, We will also provide better Git integration for promoted link projects so that all operations will become available. We expect to launch version 6.2 during the last quarter of 2026. Okay? As for version 6.1, which was what we were talking about today, it will be made available on the June 1st, 2026. You will receive the notification for the update on your Kalipso designer if you are already using Kalipso 6 and if you have an active contract or an active subscription. If by any reason you do not receive the notification for the update, please contact our sales department. It might be because you do not have an active contract or an active subscription, or because there was any sort of error in the process of licensing. This is the first time we are using this automatic update. We expect it to run smoothly as we did some tests, but if not, we are here to guarantee that you have fully access to version 6.1. So by June 1st, if you don't receive the update, just call us and we can help you with that.